The research vessel Star Seeker hung in Earth's orbit, its sensors working overtime as the alien crew stared at their readings in disbelief. Lead researcher Tom Miller, a tall human with weathered features, stood calmly before the ship's captain while the alien crew kept their distance, their environmental suits sealed tight against what they considered deadly contamination. "Impossible," Captain Reed buzzed through his translator. His insectoid features twitched behind his protective mask. No species could evolve in these conditions. He gestured at the holographic display showing Earth's surface. "Your world has regions of freezing ice next to burning deserts, oceans that would crush most life forms, atmospheres thick with oxygen, a highly reactive poison gas." Tom smiled, which made several crew members step back. The display of teeth was considered a threat display on most worlds. "Earth's pretty mild, actually. We vacation in most of those places." The captain's translator crackled as he made a sound between a laugh and a cough. "Vacation? Your species deliberately travels to these death zones for pleasure." "Sure." Tom pulled out his phone, making the aliens flinch at his sudden movement. "Here's my family's trip to Death Valley last summer. That's my kid making sand angels in 120-degree heat." The ship's medical officer fainted. When the medical officer was revived, the captain called an emergency meeting. The Star Seeker had been mapping Class 10 and above Deathworlds for the Galactic Council, but Earth was something else entirely. Not only was it clearly a Class 15 Deathworld, the highest rating they had, but it hosted an advanced civilization that seemed completely unbothered by conditions that would kill most species in minutes. The atmospheric oxygen levels alone should have caused everything to burn, the science officer reported, her tentacles waving in agitation. "And the gravity, it's crushing. Yet they build towers reaching into the sky. Look at this," another researcher called out. "They have regular climate events called storms where the very air turns violent. Lightning, floods, winds that can lift buildings, and they just deal with it." The captain turned to Tom, who was enjoying a cup of coffee. "Another substance the aliens had classified as toxic. Your people live like this all the time." "We adapt," Tom shrugged. "Different cultures develop different ways to handle their local challenges. The ones who lived in the cold learned to build warm homes. The ones in the heat learned to stay cool. We spread across pretty much every environment on Earth." "Even the water regions?" someone asked in horror. "Especially those. We can't breathe water, but we figured out how to explore the deepest parts of our oceans. Some people spend their whole lives on boats." The captain made a decision. This was too important and too dangerous to handle alone. He sent an emergency transmission to the Galactic Council. "Class 15 Deathworld discovered. Impossible but true. Intelligent life evolved here. Species shows signs of extreme resilience and adaptation capabilities. Most shocking discovery. They consider their world comfortable. Request immediate quarantine protocol and full council assessment." As the message was sent, Tom watched the Earth spinning below them. He could see hurricane patterns forming over the Atlantic, beautiful spiral clouds that made the alien crew nervously check their safety harnesses. To them, Earth was a nightmare world of extremes. To him, it was just home. The captain approached him cautiously. "The council will want to study your species. They've never encountered anything like you." Tom nodded. "We're looking forward to learning about other worlds too. Though I should warn you, humans are pretty curious. Once we know what's out there, we'll want to explore everything." The captain's translator took a moment to process Tom's words. When it did, the captain's color changed to what Tom would later learn was the alien equivalent of becoming pale with shock. The thought of these Deathworld humans, with their incredible adaptability and resilience, spreading out into the galaxy, it was terrifying. Yet as he watched Tom calmly sipping his coffee, while standing in what the aliens considered crushing gravity, the captain realized this was just the beginning of a very interesting new chapter in galactic history. The delegation from the Galactic Council, arrived on a sunny morning in New York City. They chose what they considered the safest possible landing site, a carefully sterilized and environmentally controlled dome in Central Park. The group included representatives of the galaxy's toughest species, all wearing heavy protective suits. Lead scientist Tom Miller watched with amusement as the aliens stared at the joggers running past their landing site. "Is something wrong?" he asked. "Those humans," the head delegate pointed with a trembling limb. "They're running in the open air, in gravity that could crush bones, under direct solar radiation, and they're doing it voluntarily." "Oh, that's just morning exercise," Tom explained. "Pretty normal. We got a marathon happening today, actually. Want to watch?" The delegation's security chief, a massive creature from a high-gravity world, stepped forward. "What is this marathon?" 2 hours later, the delegation watched in stunned silence as thousands of humans ran past their observation post. The race had been going on for hours, with people of all ages participating. 26 miles, muttered one of the scientists, checking their instruments. "In this gravity, in this heat, for fun." Their translator crackled with disbelief. But the marathon was just the beginning. The Council had demanded a full assessment of human capabilities, and Earth's governments were happy to oblige. They took the delegation to different locations around the planet. In the Amazon rainforest, they watched humans trek through what the aliens classified as deadly biodensity levels. The delegation nearly had a collective panic attack when their guides casually pointed out the various venomous creatures living in the area. "This small frog," their guide said, pointing to a tiny colorful amphibian, "has enough toxin to kill 10 people. And you let it live here, near your settlements?" asked a horrified delegate. "Well, sure, it's a protected species." The assessment continued. They visited the Sahara Desert, where humans led camel tours through what the aliens considered unsurvivable heat. In the Rocky Mountains, they watched rock climbers scale sheer cliffs with minimal equipment. But it was their visit to a local playground that really broke them. "The small humans are climbing on metal bars," screamed one delegate, "in open gravity, without safety fields." "Those are just swings and monkey bars," Tom explained. "All kids play on them." The head delegate called an emergency meeting. They gathered in their environmentally sealed chamber while Tom waited outside, drinking his still terrifying coffee. "This cannot be natural," the security chief declared. "No species should be able to survive like this, let alone thrive." A biological expert raised several limbs in excitement. "I've been studying their evolution. You won't believe this. They evolved as persistence hunters." "What's a persistence hunter?" several delegates asked at once. "They chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Their bodies evolved to keep going under conditions that would kill most species. They can regulate their temperature through liquid excretion from their skin. They can repair bone and muscle damage. They can even poison-proof themselves through controlled exposure." The delegates looked out at Tom, who waved cheerfully while eating a sandwich, another display of casual toxin consumption that made them nervous. "There's more," the expert continued. "They don't just survive here. They actively seek out challenges. They climb the highest mountains because, and I quote, they're there. They dive into the deepest oceans. They deliberately expose themselves to extreme conditions to push their limits." The head delegate made a decision. "We must report to the Council. This isn't just a regular Deathworld species. These humans, they've turned adapting to deadly conditions into a recreational activity." As they prepared their report, they watched a group of children having a water balloon fight in the summer heat. To the aliens, it looked like young humans were willingly bombarding each other with liquid projectiles while being bombarded by solar radiation, all while their parents watched approvingly. The galaxy, they realized, wasn't ready for humans. But ready or not, humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same. The Galactic Council's great chamber fell silent as military advisor Jack Stone walked in. Even in the carefully controlled atmosphere of the council building, the aliens noticed he moved with an easy grace that spoke of strength. Some delegates shifted nervously in their seats. They had read the reports about human physical capabilities. Honored Council, Jack began, standing comfortably in what the aliens considered crushing gravity. You've called this emergency session to discuss Earth's classification. I'm here to answer your questions. The head counselor, speaking through an advanced translator, leaned forward. Mr. Stone, your world defies our understanding. We need you to explain something. Our surveys show Earth has more deadly species than all other known worlds combined. Yet you continue to live there. Jack smiled. Well, sure. Earth's our home. We've learned to handle its challenges. Handle its challenges. Another counselor buzzed in disbelief. You have creatures called bears that can tear apart most metals. You have tiny insects that can kill with a single bite. You have plants that can cause fatal reactions just by touching them. Don't forget the box jellyfish, Jack added helpfully. Those are pretty dangerous too. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs as delegates accessed data about box jellyfish. The head counselor raised several appendages for silence. Mr. Stone, a scientific advisor, spoke up. Our records show humans keep some of these deadly creatures as pets. Oh yeah. Jack pulled out his phone, making several delegates flinch. Here's my dog Max. He's descended from wolves. And my daughter has a pet snake named Noodle. The display of a large German shepherd and a ball python caused 3 delegates to activate their emergency breathing systems. You let your young live with predators, someone shouted from the back. Kids and pets are great together, Jack said. Teaches responsibility. The head counselor called for order as the chamber descended into chaos. When things calmed down, a military expert stepped forward. Perhaps we're looking at this wrong, the expert suggested. These humans, they don't just survive among deadly creatures. They've turned some into companions. They've mastered their world's dangers so completely that they treat them as routine. Jack nodded. We adapt. It's what humans do. Take mountain climbing. That started as a survival skill. Now it's a sport. Same with swimming, running, fighting. We take challenges and turn them into opportunities. The council members watched as Jack brought up more images. Humans scuba diving with sharks, racing cars at high speeds, jumping out of aircraft for fun, and handling creatures that would send most species running in terror. And you do all this, the head counselor said slowly, on a world with active geological activity, extreme weather patterns, and constant exposure to solar radiation. Don't forget the spicy food, Jack added with a grin. Humans literally eat poison for pleasure. We turned capsaicin, a plant's defense mechanism, into a condiment. That comment sent several delegates rushing for their chemical protection protocols. After hours of debate, the council reached a shocking conclusion. Their classification system wasn't equipped to handle Earth. The term Deathworld didn't capture a planet where the dominant species treated lethal challenges as entertainment. One final question, the head counselor asked. Your people are planning to explore space, correct? To visit other worlds. That's the plan, Jack confirmed. We're pretty excited about it. The council chamber grew very quiet. The thought of these creatures, these humans who treated deadly predators as pets and toxic substances as snacks, spreading throughout the galaxy was terrifying. Yet there was also a growing realization. In a dangerous universe, humanity's unique adaptations might be exactly what the galaxy needed. As the session ended, Jack heard one delegate mutter to another. They don't just live on a death world. They are the death world. He smiled to himself. Humans were about to change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. And they were just getting started. The agricultural world of Nova Eden was considered a paradise by most species. Its gentle gravity and controlled climate made it perfect for growing food for dozens of worlds. But when the ground began to shake and volcanoes started emerging across the planet's surface, That paradise turned into a nightmare. Commander Anna Hayes stood on the bridge of the human rescue ship Earthborn, watching the disaster unfold on the main screen. Massive ash clouds darkened Nova Eden's sky, while rivers of lava cut through once fertile fields. "The local forces have failed," reported her communications officer. "Their environmental suits can't handle the conditions. There are still 10,000 colonists trapped in the southern farming district." Anna nodded, unsurprised. Most species in the galaxy were adapted to stable, controlled environments. They weren't built for sudden disasters like this. "Tell our teams to prep for deployment," she ordered. Just another day at the office. The alien observer on her bridge, a diplomatic representative named Rex, stared at her in disbelief. "Commander, the surface temperature has risen to levels that would cook most species. The air is filled with toxic gases. The gravity fluctuations alone would crush standard environmental suits." Anna smiled. "Sounds like a typical Tuesday in Yellowstone. We've trained for worse." The human rescue teams moved with practiced efficiency, donning their lighter but tougher suits, designed using Earth standards rather than galactic ones. Other species needed powered armor to handle high gravity. Humans just needed good boots and a bit of training. "Team 1, you're handling the western sector," Anna commanded. "Team 2, take the east. Remember, folks, this is just like the Iceland training missions, but with better weather." Rex watched in amazement as the humans jumped into their dropships, joking and laughing as if they weren't about to descend into what most species would consider hell itself. Their casual attitude toward deadly conditions still shocked him. The rescue operation began. Through the ship's cameras, Rex watched as human teams moved through conditions that would kill most species in minutes. They carried colonists to safety, their stronger bodies easily handling the extra weight in the increased gravity. "Watch that lava flow," one rescuer called out casually. "It's spreading faster than the ones back home." "At least we don't have to worry about bears here," another responded with a laugh. Hour after hour, the humans worked tirelessly. Where other species' rescue attempts had failed due to equipment breakdowns and environmental stress, the humans kept going. They even took breaks to eat their lunches, sitting calmly in what the galaxy considered lethal conditions. "How are they doing this?" Rex asked, watching a team of humans dig through rubble with their bare hands after their power tools failed. "We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day," Anna explained. "Volcanoes, earthquakes, storms, predators. Earth threw everything at us. We learned to adapt, to keep going when other creatures would give up." By the end of the day, all 10,000 colonists were safely evacuated. The human teams returned to the ship, tired but triumphant. Some were already planning how to improve their techniques for next time. The galaxy watched in amazement as news of the rescue spread. Other species had deemed the mission impossible. The humans had treated it like a training exercise. In the ship's mess hall later, Rex listened as the rescue team swapped stories about Earth disasters they'd handled. Earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes. What other species saw as catastrophic events, humans described as challenging but manageable. "I don't understand," Rex finally said. "How can you be so calm about all this?" Anna looked out the viewport at Nova Eden's burning surface. "Because this is what humans do best. We don't just survive disasters. We've learned to fight them, to save others from them. It's part of who we are." As the Earthborn prepared to head home, requests were already coming in from other worlds. Everyone wanted human rescue teams on standby. The galaxy had finally realized something important. In a universe full of dangers, humanity's deadly homeworld had prepared them to be its greatest protectors. Deep in the Galactic Council's primary research facility, Professor James Walker stood before a panel of the galaxy's top scientists. Behind him, a massive screen showed Earth's evolutionary timeline. The alien researchers leaned forward, their various sensory organs fixed on the display. "What you're seeing," James explained, pointing to a particular section, "is what we call the Great Dying. The Permian extinction. It killed about 95% of all species on Earth. He paused as the translator relayed this information, followed by the sound of multiple alien scientists gasping. "You mean, your world experienced a near-total death event?" asked the lead researcher, her crystalline form shimmering with excitement. "And life survived?" James nodded. "Not just once. Earth has gone through 5 major extinction events. Each time, the survivors had to be tougher, smarter, and more adaptable than before." The screen changed to show various prehistoric creatures. These are just some of the things our ancestors had to survive against. Giant predators, massive climate changes, meteor impacts, supervolcanoes. Earth threw everything at us. One of the alien scientists raised a tentacle. "But how did your species specifically evolve such remarkable adaptability?" James clicked to the next slide, showing early humans. "We were persistence hunters, not the strongest or fastest, but we could keep going when other creatures had to stop. We learned to sweat, to cool ourselves while running. We developed complex problem-solving skills to track prey. Our bodies learned to store energy efficiently." "And the oxygen?" another scientist asked. "Other worlds with such high oxygen levels experienced constant fires. Life on Earth adapted to use oxygen as an advantage," James explained. "It lets us burn energy more efficiently, giving us more endurance. Even our cells evolved specialized components to handle it." The presentation continued, showing how Earth's various challenges had shaped human development. The scientists were particularly fascinated by humans' ability to survive in almost any environment. "Look at these readings," one researcher exclaimed, pointing to their datapad. "Humans can survive temperature ranges that would kill most species. They can adapt to high altitudes with low oxygen. They can even modify their bodies to handle different types of foods and environmental toxins." James smiled. "We call that building up immunity or acclimatization. Give humans time, and they can adapt to almost anything." The lead researcher suddenly made a connection. "Wait, is this why your people seek out challenges? Why you deliberately expose yourselves to difficult conditions?" "Exactly," James confirmed. "It's built into us. Our bodies and minds evolved to become stronger through adversity. We're literally designed to push limits." The scientific panel fell into excited discussion as they began to understand. Earth wasn't just a death world. It was an evolutionary pressure cooker that had produced something unprecedented in the galaxy, a species that thrived on challenges. "There's more," James added, bringing up new data. "We've studied other worlds now. None of them had Earth's combination of conditions: variable climate, high gravity, diverse ecosystems, regular natural disasters, and abundant predators. Other worlds usually had 1 or 2 survival challenges. Earth had them all." The implications hit the scientific community like a thunderbolt. Every piece of new data about Earth's history made humans more remarkable. They weren't just survivors of a death world. They were the ultimate product of the galaxy's most demanding evolutionary gauntlet. As the presentation concluded, the lead researcher made her final notes. "Earth represents a unique evolutionary laboratory. Its combination of conditions created not just hardy survivors, but a species that actively seeks out and adapts to new challenges. Humans don't just endure, they thrive on adversity." James packed up his materials, overhearing the scientists already planning new research projects. They finally understood why humans were different. Earth hadn't just created tough survivors. It had forged a species that turned deadly challenges into opportunities for growth. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. They weren't just deathworlders. They were the pinnacle of evolutionary adaptation, shaped by conditions no other species had faced and survived. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was interrupted by alarms blaring through the chamber. The core worlds were facing a crisis. A deadly plague was spreading across the most populated planets in the galaxy. "The cure exists," announced the chief medical officer, her hologram flickering above the council table. "But it's on planet Infernus. The atmospheric pressure alone would crush most species. The surface temperature is twice that of your average habitable world." The council members looked at each other in despair. Infernus was classified as a Class 13 Deathworld. No one had ever survived its surface for more than a few minutes, even in the most advanced protective suits. Then a calm voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. "Sounds like a nice spring day in Death Valley." All eyes turned to Dr. Mark Roberts, a human biologist who had been quietly observing the proceedings. He stepped forward, his movements easy and confident despite the artificial gravity that most species found challenging. "You're suggesting humans could go?" the head counselor asked, hope creeping into their translated voice. Mark shrugged. "High pressure, hot temperature, toxic atmosphere. We've dealt with worse. Our deep-sea explorers regularly handle higher pressures. As for the heat, well, humans have worked in volcanic research stations that are hotter." The council chamber erupted in excited chattering. Mark pulled out his tablet and showed them images of human scientists working near active volcanoes, deep-sea researchers in crushing pressures, and specialists handling deadly materials. Within hours, a human team was assembled. Dr. Roberts led the group, which included experts in extreme environment operations. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans prepared for their mission with what seemed like casual interest. "You're really treating this like a routine expedition?" asked an alien observer, watching the humans pack their gear. "Pretty much," replied Linda, one of the team members, as she checked her equipment. "Honestly, it sounds easier than that time we had to collect samples from an underwater volcano." The council provided their most advanced ship to transport the human team to Infernus. During the journey, the ship's crew watched in fascination as the humans discussed their approach as if planning a camping trip. "The gravity's only 1.3 times Earth normal," Mark noted, reviewing the data. "That's not too bad. The acid rain might be annoying, though." "I packed extra umbrellas," Linda joked, making the other humans laugh while the alien crew tried to comprehend how they could be so casual about conditions that would kill most species instantly. When they reached Infernus, the alien crew remained in orbit, watching through their ship's cameras as the humans descended to the surface. Their protective suits were far lighter than what other species used, allowing them to move freely in the harsh conditions. "Temperature is 170 degrees Celsius, Mark reported casually over the radio. "Reminds me of my grandmother's cooking." The humans worked efficiently, collecting the needed biological samples while dealing with conditions that would have liquefied most other species. They even stopped to take pictures of what they called interesting geological formations. 3 hours later, far longer than any other species had survived on Infernus, the team returned with the cure samples intact. They were sweaty but otherwise seemed unfazed by their experience. "Next time we should bring a picnic," Linda suggested, making the other humans chuckle as they removed their protective gear. The council was astounded. Not only had the humans survived, but they had treated one of the deadliest environments known to the galaxy as if it were a mild inconvenience. As the cure was processed and distributed, saving billions of lives across the core worlds, the galaxy's perspective on humans shifted dramatically. They weren't just tough. They were almost casually invincible by most species standards. Perhaps, the head counselor noted in their official report, "What we consider impossible is merely inconvenient for humans." And that might be exactly what this galaxy needs. Mark and his team were already planning their next expedition. After all, there were plenty more impossible worlds out there, and humans were just getting started. 1 year after the Infernus mission, the Galactic Council gathered for a historic session. The Great Chamber was packed with representatives from every known spacefaring species. At the center of attention stood Tom Miller, the same human who had first greeted the alien research vessel in Earth's orbit. "We are here today," announced the head counselor, "to officially reclassify Earth and recognize humanity's unique status in the galaxy." The massive display screen behind them showed Earth in all its glory, a swirling mix of blue oceans, green forests, and white clouds. To most aliens, it looked terrifyingly beautiful. Earth can no longer be classified as merely a Class 15 Deathworld, the head counselor continued. We are creating a new designation, Prime Deathworld, the standard against which all challenging environments will be measured. Tom tried not to smile as he heard several alien delegates mutter about how humans had forced them to rewrite their entire planetary classification system. Furthermore, the Council's chief scientist added, Earth's wildlife will now be classified as ultra-extreme fauna. We've had to create 17 new danger categories just to properly catalog Earth's animals. The screen showed images of Earth's creatures, bears, honeybees, blue-ringed octopuses, and even seemingly harmless creatures like platypuses. Each one was now labeled with warning symbols that made the alien delegates shudder. Did you know? Tom heard one delegate whisper to another. They keep smaller versions of apex predators in their homes. They call them cats and dogs. The head counselor raised their appendages for silence. But most importantly, we are here to recognize humanity's new role in the galaxy. In the past year alone, human teams have. The screen began displaying a list. Rescued 3 colonies from extreme environments. Established bases on 12 previously uninhabitable worlds. Created new safety protocols for dangerous environment operations. Trained other species in survival techniques. Developed protective gear that works in almost any condition. Therefore, the head counselor declared, we are appointing humanity as the galaxy's official survival and rescue specialists. Any mission deemed impossible due to environmental conditions will now be referred to Earth first. Tom stepped forward to accept the official designation, trying not to laugh at how the nearby delegates instinctively moved back. Even after a year, most species were still nervous about human physical capabilities. We're happy to help, he said simply. Exploring dangerous places and helping others is what humans do best. Later, at the celebration party, Tom watched with amusement as alien delegates cautiously tried Earth foods that had been cleared for their species. Most found them incredibly bland. Humans had to tone down all their recipes because what they considered mild spice was classified as chemical warfare by galactic standards. Is it true? A young alien diplomat asked him, that humans are now using their Deathworld experience to terraform other planets. Tom nodded. We're pretty good at surviving harsh conditions. Turns out that makes us excellent at turning hostile worlds into habitable ones. We understand what life needs to thrive in tough environments. The news spread quickly through the gathering. Humans weren't just surviving anymore. They were reshaping worlds, making the impossible possible. They had gone from being seen as dangerous Deathworlders to becoming the galaxy's greatest assets. As the celebration continued, the head counselor approached Tom with one final question. Do humans ever miss the days when you were just an unknown species on your deadly world? Tom looked around at the gathered representatives of 1,000 worlds, all now counting on humanity's unique capabilities to help them face impossible challenges. He thought about how humans were now spreading across the stars, treating deadly environments like new frontiers to be explored. Miss it, he replied with a smile. We're just getting started. The galaxy's full of impossible places waiting to be explored, and if there's one thing humans love, it's a good challenge. The head counselor nodded, finally understanding. Earth wasn't just any Deathworld. It was Deathworld, the crucible that had forged humanity into something the galaxy had never seen before. And the universe would never be the same.